Hey everyone, my name is Taylor Hoy and welcome to Indie Quest 2025. We're excited to share with you exclusive looks at over 40 upcoming independently developed Japanese-style RPGs, including an exclusive game reveal that you're not going to want to miss. Now before we get started, I want to encourage you to open either Steam or your console of choice's store, because wishlisting these games is the best way to support the teams. So let's get started.
Yep, that's me. How did I get into this mess? Let's go back. 1 minute I was sweeping up at the movie store. The next, bam! This totally rad machine popped out of nowhere. Next thing I knew, whoosh! Whoa! So yeah, the store was gone and I was trapped here. But where is here? Well, the locals weren't as friendly as I hoped. This is Frank. He was a bit of a scaredy pig at first, but lucky for me, he found some courage. This stabby little fella here is Drake with his two sidekicks, Slicey and Dicey. Like it or not, we're in this together. But getting home won't be easy, especially with these guys. We even found this wicked pirate ship. Fire! Anyways, where were we? Well, that didn't go as expected. You're still here? You really should go wishlist this game now.
War leaves a mark on all of us. Some carry scars you can see. Others are buried deep. The world of Alteria isn't as peaceful as it seems. Shadows linger, and I've seen them grow before.
I've trained my whole life to protect the people I care about. I'll fight, no matter what it takes.
Magic doesn't just come from talent. It's sharp wit and daring precision. If you can't outthink your enemy, well, you're just better off sitting down and letting me handle it.
I don't know if I can do this, but running is not an option anymore. I'll find my courage. I have to.
Do you ever just come across games that charm you immediately? Well, that's how I felt when I first saw this next game. It's got a really cool mix of platforming, turn-based combat, and a great sense of humor. Here's a new look at Zerra's adventure.
Hi guys, it's the Kaseki Nut, or TKN for short. I make a bunch of JRPG related videos like lists, news, demo impressions, and sometimes I'll give the spotlight to a game that takes my fancy. And today is one of those days. And this indie title, it's centered around an escape from an abandoned colony which is slowly being overrun by a deadly miasma, and the protagonist has to get out of there within a certain time frame. This premise is then consolidated further with RPG elements like a turn-based combat system. The game is called The Time I Have Left. Let's have a look at the trailer.
Hey everyone, it's Super Derek, reviewer of RPGs, dispenser of RPG news, and occasionally I get to interview indie RPG developers on Hitpoint, the RPG News podcast. And ever since I had the opportunity to interview David from Datadyne about their upcoming game, Forge of the Fae, it's been living rent-free in my head. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it's also richly steeped in Celtic lore and aims to tell a more mature story without being a mature game. I'm confident that you will fall in love with it just as I have. Check this out.
What's up everyone, it's Retro Brandon, and if you haven't seen my channel before, I love to talk about retro games with a major dose of RPGs through lists and reviews and what I like to call nostalgia challenges. I also have a podcast with Slam Zaney called Level Up Legacy.
and I'm excited to give you a first look at Tactics Returners. This game was inspired by the golden era of strategy RPGs. It has exciting turn-based battles, free roam to explore a variety of maps and gather resources, as well as character relationships that will lead to decisions that will allow you to shape the future of the Resistance. So without further ado, here's a look at Tactics Returners.
Who would leave garbage here? Which brings me to our next game. You literally fight as a trash can in turn-based combat, and I'm being totally serious. The game is called Kingdoms of the Dump, and it actually looks amazing. Check out a new trailer right here.
John aka Chicken Fillets here. I am a Scottish JRPG content creator, and yes, I've made an emphasis on the Scottish part because this next indie JRPG you're waiting to be shown is a Scottish JRPG. Say it loud, say it proud, Scottish JRPG. In this Earthbound-inspired JRPG developed by Ross McRitchie, we will be following Alex and his companions in a turn-based combat adventure full of rich Scottish and Celtic culture. I am proud to introduce this next trailer, Cairn, Mather's Curse, Scottish.
Welcome to Edendale High.
You'd better learn your way around pretty quick.
You're that creep I caught staring at me at the station.
This whole room is one gigantic computer.
It'd take too long to explain what it actually is, so something cool.
You made it! You're all here! If you're not on Friend Stop, it's like you don't exist. Come on, we're fixing this right now.
The name's Conrad Baldwin. The man, the myth, the legend.
Listen up. The name's Kaori Delana, and I'm not afraid to fight anyone around here.
Hiya, my name's Eve. It's so nice to meet you.
Eve, can you open the student database time capsule for me? I want to see when it was last updated.
Hey, I'm Professor Noctis, and I teach and play video games at the University of Alabama, where I use games to teach actual college courses. And I do this as well on YouTube and Twitch on my channel, where I try to teach new things through all the games that I play. Today I'm excited to share with you a new preview of Shrines Legacy. It's an SNES era-inspired action-adventure game that's also co-op. So if you like Secret of Mana or Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past from those days, you're gonna love this game. Plus, it's really cool co-op, and I got to play this game recently at PAX East with a friend of mine, had a great time. If you like that era of game, I hope you really enjoy this new preview of Shrines Legacy. Let's check it out.
Hi there everybody, this is David over at the channel David Vink, and I do all sorts of news, top 10s, and reviews over there, so be sure to check out my channel if you haven't already. If you're anything like me, you're into retro RPGs, and you love RPGs from the SNES and the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 eras, and you're missing those great games. But I have a game for you that harkens back to those, and it has a scenario system, has turn-based battles, it has a world map, and it has spectacular storytelling, and I know that you're just going to love it, and it's called Quartet.
Now, while this is mostly focused on games that have yet to come out, I did want to highlight some awesome games that did already come out in 2025. So, here's a quick look at some of the best indie JRPGs that have already released in 2025.
Hey, this is Emily from the channel Orbology, where I like to cover topics in game collecting, as well as my love for JRPGs and niche games. I'm honored to introduce an upcoming indie title that is self-described as a comedy noir fever dream. Has a bunch of amazing references from the late 80s to early 90s and leans heavily into this inner city demonic vibe. It has a playable demo at the moment, and you could test out the over-the-top turn-based combat systems as well as the intense rap battles. I'm really looking forward to the full release of my familiar.
Yeah. Wish city where everyone gets busy, cause minimum wage here is something like $6.50. Crime running rampant, paper changing hands like pamphlets. Government can't seem to understand it. They call us a town without a future. It's full of shooters and alcohol abusers, fools spreading rumors, boosters and looters. You can make friends here or make maneuvers, and if you choose the latter, you'll make it up the ladder. But you better get away before your dome gets splattered. Everybody got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. When the drama's right in front of them, they run in the house. Make a wish. Everybody taking sips of the devil's nectar with the sin on their lips. Got the nerve to wanna kiss. You ain't never seen a town more desolate than this. Yeah. Need help, police is getting busier. You better call up my familiar, cause these streets is getting grittier, and they about to tear the whole city up. F-A-M-I-L-I-A-R, yeah, they know who we are, yeah. F-A-M-I-L-I-A-R, yeah, cause they know who we are. I heard Mr. D took a spill, and upon first look, he was clumsy and slipped, or was he actually pushed? There's no probable cause that says he broke any laws. Now he's cracked out on the street, shell covered in gauze. The higher you climb, it's the harder you fall. They can't protect your rights if they don't exist at all. Man, another day in Wish City where the poor get ignored and the rich get busy. Guilty till proven wealthy in these courts. So we dine the cake to give much needed support. And I can guarantee in the end, victory won. Get familiar with familiars, we get the job done. Yeah. Need help, police is getting busier. You better call up my familiar, cause these streets is getting grittier, and they about to tear the whole city up. F-A-M-I-L-I-A-R, yeah, they know who we are, yeah. F-A-M-I-L-I-A-R, yeah, cause they know who we are, come on.
Hey friends, it's Brandon from Just the Gems. On my YouTube channel, I love talking about all things JRPG, everything from game reviews to recommendations to whatever else catches my interest. Now, I'm excited to get to show you a new trailer for an incredibly promising up-and-coming indie game. It's a lighthearted sci-fi RPG with some incredibly impressive animations and classic turn-based combat. It also has an incredibly cool, almost comic book aesthetic in its presentation, and it's being developed by a single person, which makes it all the more impressive. So sit back, relax, and take a look with me at Artis Impact.
Hey everyone, I'm Abdallah from Dalla Games, where I talk about all things video games. I cover a little bit of everything, but if there's one thing I always come back to, it's JRPGs and narrative-driven adventures. Today, I am excited to share a look at Godshard Chronicles, a top-down action RPG that blends the nostalgic charm of 16-bit classics with fast-paced real-time combat, seamless two-player co-op, and a rich narrative brought to life through animated cutscenes. Developed by the indie team at JCat Games and a stellar soundtrack by composers like Noriyuki Iwadare of Lunar and Grandia fame, this game is a must-play. Now, let's take a look at the trailer of Godshard Chronicles.
If you had to choose between saving those you care about the most or saving the rest of the world, which would you choose?
Hey everybody, it's FemTrooper. I run a YouTube channel where I talk about all things gaming, mostly lists, discussions, top 10s, all my favorite games. It's like a diary of my gaming experience. Today, I want to show you guys a really fun trailer for a game that looks really cool in the sense that I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and I'm always looking for games that play and feel like the original Pokemon games. I think this game that I'm about to show you is exactly that. It gives that old school vibe. It really just gives out that feeling that you got in the 90s. So please take a look at a new trailer for Disc Creatures World.
Hey everyone, Tag the Legend here, and I got my eye on an action RPG that's going to be out of this world. In Last Moon, the moon is falling, chaos is rising, and it's going to be up to you to restore balance to this immersive, beautiful world that's teetering on the edge. Just one look at the vibrant, breathtaking landscapes, and you're going to be ready to save the moon at all costs. But don't take my word for it. Let's go ahead and take a look at Last Moon.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I wanted to take a minute to spotlight a pair of indie JRPGs that could really use our help. Back in 2022, the original minds behind Wild Arms and Shadow Hearts had a double Kickstarter campaign that they launched to support their upcoming projects, Arm Fantasia and Pennyblood. And these games were meant to be spiritual successors to those original games. And the Kickstarter was hugely successful, the community was super excited, and the games were actually supposed to come out this year. However, unfortunately, they've been unable to find publishing partners to help bring these games to the finish line, and unfortunately, they have indefinitely delayed both games. Now, of course, I don't have the financial means to fund these games, or I'd just do it myself. However, I do have you guys and this platform today So I'm hoping that we could all come together and do something cool for them. The first thing is, let's just send them some positive messages. Let them know we're thinking about them, that we're cheering them on. They're active on Discord and Twitter, and I think if enough of us message them at the same time, that can make a big impact. Second, you can still support them on their backer kit. So you can pre-order the game, you can buy merch. Those are ways to directly support them financially. And actually, Studio Wild Rose, that's working on Pennyblood, has a sort of spin-off game to Pennyblood that's actually out right now that you can buy. So that's another way to financially support them, and you get a cool game that you can play today. Lastly, if there's anyone watching that works at a publisher or knows someone that works at a publisher, please reach out to those teams. There is a die-hard community that is ready to financially support them day one. I promise you we'll be there to play those games and buy them. Thank you so much for giving me your time to spotlight these games. And now, back to the show.
Maybe next time.
Hey everybody, I'm Eric and I love all things JRPGs, whether it's reviews or rankings or tier lists or deep dives and retrospective discussions. There's always so much I'm chatting about on my channel. Plus, I'm also partial to retro JRPGs and retro-inspired JRPGs, so that leads me to a new game that I found out about this year, which is Starlight Legacy. Starlight Legacy aims to bring back that 16-bit Mode 7 turn-based classic feel that just makes somebody like me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Plus, it's a game that's now fully available on PC and home console, so whether you're on the go or on the couch, this can be the perfect game to play. And the narrative is on the lighter side, being less bloated, something that you can play in under 15 to 20 hours. It might just be the perfect indie JRPG experience that you've been looking for. Please check it out.
Hello, it's Miss Bubbles. I love both RPGs and cozy games, and on my channel, I bring lovers of both genres together. Now let me ask you this, are you a fan of classic Paper Mario games? If you said yes, then you might want to wishlist this game that's coming up next. It's a perfect blend of a storybook aesthetic, charming narrative, and very fun combat.
Hey guys, I'm Tantacles, and on my channel, you can find me suffering through challenges of classic RPGs. But today I want to give you a fresh look into an adorable game that I think deserves some more attention. In this game, you guide a rabbity robot girl through a laboratory full of dysfunctional robots hell-bent on ruining her day. But she is not defenseless. She uses her powerful emotional abilities to wreak havoc on her antagonists in a unique turn-based combat system. So with all that said, I hope you fall in love with You Are Not Bunnygirl.
What's going on, everyone? Slam Zany here. If you don't already know me, I have a channel that focuses almost entirely on JRPGs. I do top 10 lists, I do reviews, among many, many other things, and I also have a podcast called Level Up Legacy. There's nothing that makes me happier than shining light on new games that I'm really excited about, and today, I'm really excited to show a first look at Eternal Remnant, the first chapter. This is a pixel art style JRPG that really has a strong focus on turn-based combat, and it has that classic retro feel with a modern twist. If these are things that you're really interested in, be sure to go check that out. It's one you're going to want to keep your eye on. And with all that said and out of the way, let's take a look at the game.
Hey.
Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and on my channel I tend to focus on turn-based strategy RPGs, with the occasional JRPG, traditional RPG, and the like thrown in. Today we are talking about a particular indie title that I've covered on the channel before, which I am extremely excited about. It blends particularly Fire Emblem influence, as well as a deep focus on skill customization, interesting and fairly unique classes, as well as, most importantly, a major inspiration from the First Nations people of Canada to draw its story, world, and characters from. We are, of course, talking about Gales of Nayeli, and I'm extremely excited not only for its full release, but for more of you to check it out. So please enjoy.
Howdy gamers, Craftium here. Now, if there's one genre that I love as much as JRPGs, it is pure, stylish character action games, and this next title is one that I've been keeping a close eye on for well over a year now, affectionately referring to it as the Delinquent Girl game before it got its official title. And with that all being said, I hope you're as excited as I am to see the brand new footage for Class 07.
What's up everyone, Lexi here. I am the brand new host of Backlog Battle, where we talk about JRPGs, indies, and niche titles together. I am so proud and fortunate to introduce our next game that features a vast non-linear world to explore, deep weapon and armor customization, and an expansive class-based progression system. If you love Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Golden Sun, or Lunar, you're gonna wanna pay attention. Here is Seed of Nostalgia.
All right, this next trailer is gonna be the last one of the showcase, and as promised, it's gonna be a game reveal. And a year ago when I was putting this all together, and I was talking to this team, and they told me what the idea was, and the fact that they would be willing to reveal the game here today, I was blown away. And I think you guys are gonna be blown away too, especially when you find out what team's working on this game. So please enjoy this look at a brand new game. And there you have it, your very first look at Infinite Alliance, a mega collab JRPG being developed by Critical Games, developers behind 8-Bit Adventures 2. It looks amazing. And that's going to do it for IndieQuest 2025, and I want to thank everyone that made today possible, all the developers who contributed brand new trailers, all the creators who introduced the games, and you for watching. Definitely drop your comments down below. I want to know what you think, what you liked, what you didn't like, so we can make next year even better. Until then, we'll see you at IndieQuest 2026.